Family whose dogs vanished into thin air had only one last hope to get them back. Before we continue with the rest of the video, we could use your help. Click the like button to help spread word about watchJojo animals, and also be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss our future videos. There's no worse feeling than losing track of a pet. The uncertainty and guilt gnaws at you like no other feeling in the world, and every second that passes decreases the chances of a happy reunion. The owner needs to act immediately if there's to be any hope. This happy family never expected their dogs to run off, but mysterious circumstances pulled them away like magic. When all the conventional searching methods seemed fruitless, this couple rummaged through their house for the one thing that might pinpoint their lost pups. Liz and Graham Hampson considered themselves the ultimate dog parents. Though they have an adult human son, they devote most of their attention to caring for their schnauzers, Charlie and Theo. The Hampsons lived in the quiet English village of Buttermere. Maybe it wasn't the most exciting place in the world, but it was peaceful and gave their dogs plenty of room to roam around. The nearby Red Pike Fell made for a fantastic walk. The rocky ground could pose a challenge to the inexperienced hiker, but Theo and Charlie had traversed it many times. They probably had every stone memorized. One pleasant summer day in 2017, John had rare free time on his hands. He volunteered to take the schnauzers on a walk up the fell. His parents told him to have a nice stroll. Both pups, aged 7 years and 15 months respectively, were generally on good behaviour. Since there weren't any other people around they would bother, John decided to let them off their leashes for a while. Wouldn't some wide open space do them good? However, the unpredictable British weather threw John for a loop. A heavy mist rolled in out of nowhere, making it impossible to see just a few feet in front of him. He called out so Charlie and Theo would come back to him. But as the fog receded, neither schnauzer was anywhere to be seen. Trying not to panic, John scanned the landscape in every direction. He whistled. He prayed. Still nothing. Meanwhile, Liz and Graham's relaxing afternoon back home came to an abrupt halt. Their phone rang and neither could process the words coming out of the speaker. John said that their beloved dogs ran away. The Sampsons were desperate to get their pups back home, though they knew the Red Pike Fell posed too much land for just a few people to cover. Without help, they'd never get Theo and Charlie back. Word about the lost pets got around quickly, and plenty of people stepped forward to help. Over 120 locals volunteered to help look. They didn't turn up any leads after the first day, so one resident proposed a novel strategy. The techie brought out his 2 drones. They flew over the surrounding Buttermere area, scanning for 2 scared and hungry schnauzers, but after 4 days of searching, the dogs were still nowhere to be seen. Things weren't looking good, and Liz and Graham's hopes began to waver. They figured that their poor canines must be starving out there, and that sad thought suddenly transformed into a bright idea. Graham rifled through the refrigerator without stopping to explain to his wife what he was looking for. She saw him grab a package from one of the drawers and dash outside. He was headed for Red Pike Fell. Liz followed her husband out to the exact spot where John lost track of the dogs. She then understood that he'd carried a bundle of sausages out of the fridge, and they were now roasting over a small portable grill. His plan was simple. If the hungry dogs hadn't gotten far from where John had lost them, they would smell the crispy, sizzling sausages, and if he knew anything about Charlie and Theo, it was that they couldn't resist a barbecue. The couple crossed their fingers as the grill spluttered. Then 2 tiny silhouettes appeared on the horizon. When they first appeared, it was like a mirage. I could not believe it was them, recalled Liz. Charlie and Theo returned. The moment proved overwhelming for their human parents, who couldn't believe their last-ditch strategy worked. However, they had one phone call to make before they could really celebrate. John, now back at the naval base, had been in an awful way. When his parents called him to share the good news, they heard a chorus of cheers in the background as he told his sailor pals that the dogs were back. Nobody quite knows what Charlie and Theo, who happen to be father and son, got up to during their 4 days in the wild. Maybe they were busy with some heroics out there. Strange as it sounds, it's happened before. Without her dog Nadia, 4-year-old Karina Chitakova wouldn't have made it to age 5. The little girl lived in a remote Siberian village in the Far East region called the Sakha Republic, with her father, mother, grandfather and dog her future hero. Like most kids her age, Karina was energized by a youthful curiosity, that urge to explore and know and understand, which is why in July 2014 she followed her father, Rodion, on an expedition into a part of the Siberian wilderness also known as the taiga. Now, this decision was problematic for a few different reasons. The first reason being that the taiga is very much an animal kingdom, dominated by bears, tigers and wolves with really sharp teeth and an appetite for people. The second problem with Karina's decision was that she had not told her grandmother, the person charged with watching her at the time, that she would be following her dad into the bear-infested wilderness. In fact, she hadn't even told her dad that she would be following him. So literally, no one on the planet knew that this 4-year-old girl was diving headstrong into the most dangerous territory on the planet. No person, at least. Karina did have a companion at her side, Nadia, the family dog. That evidently was all the comfort the little girl needed, but it was little comfort to her mother, Talina, when she realised her little girl and the dog were both missing. At first, Talina figured her youngster and the dog followed Rodion to his native village, but Siberia wasn't exactly flooded with quality LTE, so she couldn't pull out a cell phone and check. Instead, she waited to hear from her husband. In the meantime, Karina followed her father until she somehow managed to lose his trail. Her dad disappeared from view, leaving her very much stranded in Siberia with Nadia. And the bears. And the wolves. It took 4 days of waiting for Mother Talina to learn that no, her daughter was not with her husband in his home village. No stranger to Siberia, she understood this to be a very bad thing, so she alerted authorities. They deployed a 100-person rescue team to head out into Siberian wilds to find her. The team carried rifles to fend off bears. Yeah, there were that many bears in the woods. Helicopters sliced the sky and rescue workers on foot combed through the trees and tall grass, but their search proved fruitless. Karina was nowhere to be seen. But then 9 days after she went missing, authorities found a clue. More specifically, a clue walked right up to the authorities and introduced herself. Nadia returned to her home, but Karina was not with her. What should have been a hopeful moment only seemed to confirm Talina's worst thoughts. If she was to hug her puppy, Talina said, we thought this would have given her a chance to survive. So when her dog came back, we thought, that's it. Even if she was alive and chances were slim, now she would have definitely have lost all hope. But Nadia hadn't just wandered absent-mindedly home. She seemed eager to show the desperate family and the rescue crew something important. The dog headed the group of rescuers and led them into the wilderness. The dog led authorities to a spot in the wilderness, but none of them saw Karina there. Nadia, it seemed, couldn't find the exact area where she'd left the little girl. Authorities wondered if they were anywhere near her at all. But 3 days later, 12 days after Karina first went missing, rescue workers spotted a child-sized footprint on a riverbed beside a dog's paw print. The footprint revealed Karina was barefoot, a crucial detail for investigators. This told rescue workers that Karina likely was not in the woods. Too many sharp sticks there would have been a nightmare on her feet. This narrowed their search down considerably, and the following morning they executed that new search plan. And sure enough, just 20 metres from where they started searching, one rescue worker noticed a peculiar lump tucked away in a patch of tall grass. The whole crew rushed over. They found her nestled in the grass. She was starving, thirsty, exhausted and covered in mosquito bites. but nevertheless alive. They brought her tea before carrying her to a car and whisking her away to the nearest hospital. The child spent some time in the hospital, but physicians determined there wouldn't be any lasting damage. A psychologist examined her mental state and found, shockingly, her mind was in a good place. Talk about mental fortitude. So how did a 4-year-old girl survive in the Siberian wilderness? The little girl told reporters and her family that she survived off wild berries and river water. Then, of course, there was Nadia, the lovable canine that gave her warmth at night and companionship in the daytime. The two reunited for the first time back at home when the hospital released Karina. The meeting did not go as expected. When Karina first saw her dog, she looked her in the eyes and chided, "Why did you leave me?" Those 3 days of solitude must have really affected the little girl, but eventually she came to understand what the dog did for her.